everyone, and welcome to This Day. Today is Friday, January 19th, and I'm Bobby Higgins. Coming up on the show today, Becky LaMacca with O'Connor Mortuary is joining us. She is the Director of Grief Support and Education. So today we're going to talk about pet loss and grief and why it is just so hard. And after that, Cole Young will join us with this week's Sports Corner. So let's take a look at our Stay Informed. An informational joint replacement expo is coming up on Monday, January 29th at 5 p.m. in Clubhouse 5. Do you need relief from joint pain? Are you curious about how to care for your joints as you age? Well, if the answer is yes, then come join Memorial Saddleback Medical Center for an informational joint replacement exposition where you can meet the doctors, ask questions, and find out about the latest joint replacement technology, plus a whole lot more. That'll be coming up here soon. And now let's take a look at the weather. Looking outside, we do have some rain coming in the next few days. Today we'll have increasing clouds as the day goes on with a high of 64 and a low of 51. On Saturday, there's a 30% chance of rain and drizzle in the afternoon. On Sunday, there'll be a few more showers, and on Monday, we'll have a bit more heavy showers in the morning, and by Tuesday, the rain will have moved out, but it will remain mostly cloudy for the day. And now looking at your sunrise and sunset, here's a picture from Ben Givens of Corona Del Mar. Thank you for sending that in, Ben. Your sunrise this morning is 6:54 a.m., and your sunset tonight will be at 5:09 p.m. If you would like to have your pictures featured here on This Day, please email them to us at lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. We would look forward to seeing your images. So stay with us because up next we have O'Connor Mortuary, but first, here's a look at today's meetings.
Irvine Barclay Theater is your home for the best in live entertainment. Here's what's coming up next. For tickets and information, visit thebarclay.org.
The Salvation Army Orange County is committed to building hope in people's lives rather than just more shelters. The Center of Hope, a comprehensive homeless care solution, combines a 325-bed emergency shelter, 72 permanent supportive housing apartments, on-site medical, dental, vision, and mental health care, and an award-winning drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. Donate today to transform lives, create safer neighborhoods, and provide an opportunity to end chronic homelessness in Orange County.
If you're driven by an adventurous heart, you're in luck. The 2024 Subaru Outback shares your spirit. With standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. Plus, 97% of Outback vehicles sold in the last 10 years are still on the road today. The 2024 Subaru Outback. Go where love takes you.
Irvine Subaru. Buy online, just come in to sign. Get 2 years complimentary maintenance included on all new Subarus.
How do you comfort a family who's experienced a loss? At O'Connor Mortuary, we start by welcoming them into our space, where families of all faiths and cultures belong. We allow them the time to process their grief, providing guidance when it's needed and listening intently when it's not. We gather the values, the stories, the relationships, and the dreams together and use them to shape the memory of their loved one into a beautiful experience they'll cherish forever. When your family is in need of true comfort, call O'Connor Mortuary.
Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now from O'Connor Mortuary is Becky LaMacca, and she is the Director of Grief Support and Education. So Becky, so nice to see you, and my first time to meet you. I understand You've been coming on for like 20 years.
Been coming on for a while, yes.
That's crazy.
I always enjoy getting to be here and coming on the show. Great information always.
Yeah. Well, and grief is hard, and you must be a very compassionate person in the industry that you're in, and so. But for you, what's the joy? What's the silver lining? What's the thing that you get out of this position?
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, and she said it must be so hard what you do, and I said, it is definitely hard. There are hard aspects to what I do, to what our team does, but there is this sense of meaning when we can walk alongside somebody during their darkest time, and really hold that space for them, because we know that they need that. We know somebody needs to hold that space and be present and allow them to tell their story as they're grieving. So knowing that we can do that, and see that people can come through grief and grow through grief and move forward in their grief really is what gives us the satisfaction that's why we're here.
It's definitely helping people. Even though it's such a hard time, it's definitely helping people. And I know for me, the times that I've needed that support, it is so comforting when somebody can direct you on what needs to be done and just help you. Because at a lot of times you're just like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
I always say in grief, especially early on, we've lost our north, right? We've lost our north, and so our role is help people find their north again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so today we're going to discuss grief and pet loss. So, why is it so hard to lose a pet?
Well, those of us who have had animals in our lives, they are part of our family. And sometimes easier than our children, right? Because they are there greeting us when we come home and they don't talk back. And, they're such a presence. They're such a part of our lives. They are truly a part of our family. And so when we have a pet who dies, it devastates us just like if we, had a person die.
Yeah. And is it harder, do you think, like for seniors? Are they facing like a little bit different challenges than just anybody else who's losing a pet?
I think so. Sometimes our pets, we're closest to our pets. As we're older, sometimes that is our companion, right? Versus maybe our spouse has already died, maybe children aren't as close. So that is really our daily companion. I think one of the things that makes pet loss so difficult is something that we call disenfranchised grief. And really what that means is society is telling us we shouldn't be grieving. We should, why are you, what? It was just. And so we have these minimizers that our, even sometimes well-meaning friends and family use. They minimize our grief. Well, and I say a minimizer is anything that starts with at least. Well, at least, you had your cat for 15 years. Well, at least, why don't you just go get another one? Oh, it was just a dog. Why, it's been a month. Why aren't you over this yet? So then we start to feel this guilt, like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't be grieving this. So this disenfranchisement that what I'm feeling shouldn't be. So that complicates and that causes us even more emotional distress.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you're constantly telling yourself I shouldn't feel this way, then you're not going to actually be dealing with how you feel to move past it.
And the one thing we know about grief is there's no right or wrong way to grieve. I was just talking with someone who had a person die. Her father died, and she said, I guess my brother is grieving the right way. He's really upset. He's crying, and she said, I'm still in shock. And she said, I guess I'm doing it wrong. And I said, there's no right or wrong way. I said, you're in action mode, you're in go mode. You're the one who has been responsible for calling the family and notifying. And so we talked a little bit about what that looks like. And I think the same when we experience the loss of a pet, we want to share, we want somebody to console us and offer condolences, but sometimes we're a little afraid to mention it because of these minimizers.
That makes so much sense. And do people when it's a loss of a pet, would you expect that people are going to go through the same, like, isn't it the 7 stages of grief?
Well, we really don't see grief in stages anymore. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, many decades ago, kind of looked at the dying as in these stages, and it got transformed into these stages of grief. And really, over the past few decades, we see grief as much more fluid, and the reason for that is people do experience those things, but they don't necessarily experience them in those stepping stones and in that particular order. And we don't really want to approach people like that, because what happens is if they think they need to grieve in that order or in these stages, once again, they're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've failed, I've done it wrong, because I'm angry, but I haven't been through bargaining, you know what I mean? So they're thinking, so you feel all of those things, absolutely. And even non-death losses, when we're losing our eyesight, maybe when we can't drive anymore. So we have these non-death losses that we grieve, and yes, we grieve these things in the very same way as if it were a person who had died.
Wow, so interesting. And so when it's a pet, is there a best way to handle it?
I think the best way is the best way for you. So what may be the best way for you may be very different than the best way for me. But one thing I do say to people is, mark the death, feel the feelings, allow yourself to feel this grief without any judgment attached to it. Right? Yeah. If you're feeling really lethargic, if you're feeling really angry, if you're having a really tearful day, rather than beating yourself up and saying, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you, get over it. Allow yourself that moment. Now maybe it's going to be 20 or 30 minutes, and then you're going to move on, you're going to get off to one of the clubhouses, you're going to get into an activity. I say surround yourself by people, right? We're not meant to go it alone in our grief. So surround yourself with people who are going to support you. And then find ways that are meaningful for you to ritualize that death. A lot of people now, we've really advanced with pet cremation, where we actually even have like pet hospices. People will come to your house and be with you as your animal is dying. We can have memorabilia that is made. We can bring the cremated remains home to us. We have little, these pet hospitals have little urns for cats and dogs. So that might not be for you, but find ways that you can ritualize. Is it taking the collar and hanging it up in some special place?
Yeah. Oh, those are all some really good ideas, things I didn't even know about. How that's incredible didn't know there was pet hospice too. Because many animals get so old, and then they're on their last days, but yeah, so that's such a great thing. And so how do you know if the grief you're experiencing, if it is a lot, or how do you know if it's too much, or it's been going on too long, or that you're not getting over it, or that you just need maybe a little extra help?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, how I talk with people is, one of the things we know about grief is it never truly ends, right? The edges soften over time, but when we least expect it, it can rear its ugly head again. It can be months, and a certain situation will happen, or maybe I had this happen with me when our dog died. It had been 8 months since our dog had died, and I went to the refrigerator. I was cooking something that I know she always loved, the scraps, and I turned around to give her a scrap, and I realized, wait a minute, she's not here anymore, and the tears started flowing. So again, give yourself that grace that you could feel fine for a few months, and then all of a sudden one little thing triggers, or you're walking into the house for the first time after you've been away, and you're used to seeing your animal there, and your animal isn't there. I would say I would be concerned if people, after a certain point, after a few months, are not getting back into regular activities again. So if you're not going to the clubhouse, if you're not joining the exercise group that you did, if you're not going to these meetings for this club that you were a part of, I would be concerned about that.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being here today and educating us about this.
Of course.
It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.
If you would like to contact O'Connor Mortuary, you can give them a call at 949-581-4300 or go online to o'connormortuary.com. Stay with us. We'll have more of This Day right after this.
O'Connor Mortuary has been healing hearts, inspiring trust, and comforting souls since 1898. As one of the oldest family-owned and operated mortuaries in California, we are proud to be a long-standing pillar in the community. Our unwavering commitment to providing support in a time of need is what sets us apart and allows us to build strong bonds with each family we serve. Thank you for choosing us for 125 years.
Happy Friday and welcome back to this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young, and while the NFL playoffs are the biggest story in the sports world right now, another NFL storyline has been the topic of most sports conversations in the past few weeks. And I can sum it up with one word: fired. Currently, after what has become known as Black Monday, which is the Monday immediately following the conclusion to the NFL regular season, there are now 8 open head coaching jobs in the NFL. That's a quarter of the league that currently does not have a head coach. To be fair, a lot of them were predictable. The Atlanta Falcons fired Arthur Smith after a blowout loss to the Saints. He finished his career in Atlanta with a 21-30 record. The Washington Commanders then announced they were parting ways with head coach Ron Rivera. The team finished this season at 4-13 and last in the NFC East and went 26-40-1 in his 4 seasons at the helm. Rivera did not have a single winning season in Washington. There were some mid-season firings that I had discussed previously, like the Chargers letting go of Brandon Staley and the Raiders severing ties with Josh McDaniels. Those 2 spots currently remain open, although the Chargers are now the first team to interview Michigan's Jim Harbaugh, and the Raiders' interim head coach Antonio Pierce has made a solid case as to why he should become the permanent head coach. Many people have also forgotten that the Panthers fired Frank Reich back in November. Reich's tenure at Carolina ended with an NFL worst 1-10 record, including an 0-6 record on the road. But there were 3 very shocking firings across the league. First was the Tennessee Titans firing head coach Mike Vrabel. Vrabel led Tennessee to 4 consecutive winning seasons after arriving in 2018, but the Titans have experienced back-to-back losing seasons. This still made some scratch their heads, myself included. Although the team did experience some hardships the past 2 years, Vrabel still seemed to be incredibly well-liked and respected across the board on his team as well as across the league. While their record might not have reflected it, it seemed like the Titans were in the fight every single year. Now it looks like Tennessee will not only move on from their head coach, but Derrick Henry also seems to have said his goodbyes to Tennessee as well. Next, the Seattle Seahawks announced they were moving on from legendary head coach Pete Carroll. After a 14-season tenure, Carroll goes down as the most successful coach in franchise history. Since winning the Super Bowl at the end of the 2013 season and nearly repeating as champions the next season, the Seahawks have made the playoffs 6 times, but have failed to advance past the divisional round of the playoffs. They were just 1 win shy of making the playoffs again this season. Carroll is the only Seahawks coach to win a Super Bowl in the franchise's 48-year history and holds team records for most regular season wins with 137 and playoff wins with 10. While he will no longer be the head coach, the team announced he will remain in the organization as an advisor. And lastly, and probably the most shocking, the Patriots have announced they have mutually parted ways with Bill Belichick after a remarkable 24 seasons. Belichick leaves New England with 333 career wins, including the playoffs, which ranks second all-time behind Don Shula, and 6 Super Bowl wins. Belichick is one of only 3 NFL coaches with 6 championships since the league began postseason play in 1933. Belichick's 24-year tenure was the 5th longest of any head coach with one team. He had completed his 49th consecutive NFL season this year, the most consecutive coaching seasons in league history. Here are a few other records Belichick currently holds that are expected to remain intact. He has 17 division titles and 9 conference championships, both the most of any head coach in NFL history. Including his time as an assistant coach, he's made 12 Super Bowl appearances. He has the 5th most winning seasons in history with 21. And lastly, in 2007, he became one of only 4 teams in history to have an undefeated regular season. In a quick turn of events, Belichick has already interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons. The New England Patriots are hiring Gerard Mayo, their linebackers coach, as the 15th head coach in franchise history to replace Bill Belichick in the big shoes he has left to fill. While it wasn't the NFL, I had to mention that legendary Alabama head coach Nick Saban has also announced his retirement after 17 seasons in Tuscaloosa. Saban is one of college football's coaching greats who won 7 national championships and turned Alabama back into a national powerhouse. Alabama's season ended with that heartbreaking last-second loss to Michigan in this year's Rose Bowl. However, he had won 201 games, which is tied for the second most wins at a single school in SEC history. In his 28 years as a college head coach, which, like I said, included 7 national titles, 12 conference championships, and 19 bowl game wins, Saban never had a losing season. All this to say, Saban will go down as one of, if not the greatest head coach in college football history. His successor will be former University of Washington head coach Kalen DeBoer, who led the Huskies to a national championship appearance this season. Anyway, time to move on from all the firings and retirements and move on to the fun and happy part, the playoffs update. Starting Super Wildcard weekend off on Saturday was the Texans and Browns. The Texans shocked the world with a massive statement 45-14 win over Cleveland. Rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud continued to play like a seasoned veteran, finishing the day with 274 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. The Texans defense also swarmed Joe Flacco and the Browns offense, forcing 2 pick sixes and 4 sacks. Houston now moves on to face the current best team in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens, who will be coming off of a first-round bye. The Ravens are heavily favored in this game, mainly because of their second-ranked defense. But take a guess which team had the number 1 ranked defense. Yep, Cleveland Browns, who Stroud and the Texans handled with ease. This game kicks off this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. on ESPN and ABC. This AFC matchup was followed by another, with the Chiefs and Dolphins squaring off in the 4th coldest game in NFL history. The wind chill brought the temp down to negative 27 degrees at times. Patrick Mahomes' helmet shattered from the cold, Andy Reid's mustache froze, and fans' drinks completely froze and imploded throughout the stadium. But the Chiefs were able to handle the Dolphins and pull out a 26-7 win. Mahomes, shattered helmet and all, threw for 262 yards and a touchdown, while the Kansas City defense held the injured Dolphins to just 264 yards in total. The Chiefs advanced the divisional round, while the Dolphins continue their playoff drought, having not won a postseason game since the year 2000. Things will be slightly different this time around for Mahomes, who will be playing in the first road playoff game of his career. And, to make it even sweeter, they'll be traveling to take on their newest rivals, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills coasted their way through the wild card round, earning a 31-17 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Quarterback Josh Allen finished the day with 203 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a record-setting 52-yard touchdown run. The Bills took a 21-0 lead in the second quarter, and despite a solid comeback effort by Pittsburgh, hung on for the win. Now, like I said, they will host the Chiefs at home in Buffalo. The Chiefs have eliminated the Bills in 2 of the last 3 seasons, including the infamous Chiefs' overtime victory in 2021. This will be another historic matchup between 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL today, and this game kicks off on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. on CBS. Moving on to the NFC, 2 of the 3 games came as fairly big surprises. First, the Green Bay Packers pulled off the upset victory of the year, dismantling the Dallas Cowboys and securing a 48-32 victory. Jordan Love proved that the Packers have another legend in the making at quarterback, finishing the day with 272 yards and 3 touchdowns. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott ended the day throwing the ball 60 times for 403 yards and 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions that came at costly times. Running back Aaron Jones ran for 3 Green Bay touchdowns as well, and the Packers are moving on to the divisional round. However, that does mean they will face off with the top-ranked San Francisco 49ers, who are coming off of their first-round bye. That game will be on Fox this Saturday at 5:15 p.m. Unfortunately for our local Rams, their improbable run has come to an end. Most critics and analysts counted out the Rams this season, but despite the odds, LA was able to earn a playoff spot. It couldn't have been a more poetic game as well, as the Rams and quarterback Matthew Stafford headed to Detroit to take on the former Rams quarterback Jared Goff and Stafford's former team, the Detroit Lions. Both quarterbacks played insanely well in this back-and-forth shootout, with Stafford throwing for 367 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Goff putting up 277 yards and 1 touchdown. Both teams also showed stellar wide receiver performances, with rookie sensation Puka Nacua grabbing 9 catches for 181 yards for the Rams, and one of the league's best, Amon-Ra St. Brown, snagging 7 catches for 110 yards. The Lions held on for a close 24-23 victory, and this win marked the first playoff win for the Lions in 32 years. They will now advance to take on the other NFC underdog of the postseason, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers not only upset, but dominated the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. Playing in his third career playoff game and first with the Bucs, quarterback Baker Mayfield threw for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tampa's defense held the Eagles to just 275 yards, sacked Jalen Hurts 3 times, including once for a safety, had 6 quarterback hits, and held the Eagles to 41 rushing yards. I said it last week, but on November 26th, the Eagles had a 10-1 record and were by far the best team in the league, with Jalen Hurts being the clear frontrunner for MVP. The Eagles then lost 5 of their last 6 regular season games, headed to Tampa Bay as the 5 seed, and got blown out 32-9 in the wildcard round. For the Bucs, their Cinderella story continues in the divisional round on the road against the Lions. This game will be this Sunday at noon on NBC. After all the shocks and upsets last weekend, I truly don't know what will happen this weekend, but I will say it'd be pretty cool to see a Texans and Lions Super Bowl. Enjoy your cold, rainy weekend full of playoff football, and come right back next Friday for more news and updates. I'm Cole Young. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Let's take a look at today's movie presentation here on Village Television. Today's movie is Victoria Abdul, starring Judi Dench, and is being brought to you by Hoag Medical Center. This movie is a British historical film about the real-life relationship between Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom and her Indian Muslim servant, Abdul Karim. And now let's take a look at some announcements happening here in the Village. Boomers Club welcomes Southland Mega Groove on Saturday, January 20th in Clubhouse 5. Doors open at 6 p.m. and dancing starts at 7 p.m. First come, first served. Pay $15 at the door and bring your own everything for a fun-filled night. For any questions, call 949-415-8030 or email info@boomersclub.org. And next, the Winter Village Bazaar is coming up on Saturday, January 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Clubhouse 5 in the main lounge. For more information, or if you're a vendor and you want to reserve a space, call 949-597-4382 or email them at recreation@vmsinc.org. And now let's take a look at today's weather. Looking outside, we do have some rain coming in the next couple of days. Today we'll have increasing clouds as the day goes on with a high of 64 and a low of 51. On Saturday, there's a 30% chance of rain and drizzle in the afternoon. On Sunday, there'll be a few more showers, and on Monday is when we should have the most heavy rainfall in the morning. And by Tuesday, the rain will have moved out and it'll remain mostly cloudy for the day. Looking ahead, tomorrow, African American Heritage Club and also the Ballroom Dance Club, so check that out. That's it for this day. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again. I'm Bobby Higgins.
No one deserves to be ashamed of their smile. MacArthur Dental Arts is here to bring back your confidence. We specialize in at-home, personalized smile restoration through the power of dental implants and perfect fit dentures. I'm here to answer all your questions with free in-office consults or using our Laguna Woods in-home service special. Don't wait to get the secure, worry-free smile you deserve. Visit MacArthurDentalArts.com or call the number on your screen to schedule your consultation today.